right, the red light's on. So we are
Hey,
now recording. This is the big moment here. So why don't we start off with a quick sound check? Why don't you tell my listeners what you had for breakfast this morning?
what I had, my oats. I have oats every day. So it's
Oats
really
every
boring.
day, huh? Okay, all right. So an oat guy every day, huh? Any particular
Yes,
kind? Are they special oats? What? No, just
just rolled oats and with my frozen fruits, and it's really healthy. No milk, just water,
wow.
water, oats, and a bit of honey.
Cool, awesome. Well, I think we're sounding good here. Let's jump into it. So why don't you tell my listeners what you're currently raising money for over on Kickstarter?
Yes, so I've created a toy called TIMIO, which is a music and sound player. And I'm raising funds actually to just go to the factory. So the product's been developed, we've got it prototyped. We just need the money to just go and get it produced.
Nice. So for our listeners out there, walk us through what are you talking about? What do you mean with a kid's toy? What do you mean? How do you
Yes,
describe it?
so I've been producing music actually for children in several languages for the last 5 years. And I put that in combination of noticing that kids are way too much on screens, from a very early age.
Yep.
And kind of really bugs me. I'm on one hand, yes, my music is streaming online, so people are playing the music through their smartphones and iPads to their kids. But on the other hand, I see parents giving a smartphone too easily to their children. So I came up with an idea of a music and sound player where the kid is in control. The kid can turn it on, no password, nothing. He's in control. He's going to turn it on. She's going to play it whenever she wants it. And that really puts out the screens for a few more months, hopefully. Hopefully the parents will see the benefits of delaying the kids' use of the smartphone as much as possible. And of course, if it puts a smile on their face, if it teaches them something, that's even greater. And that's the idea of TIMIO.
That's great. So what does a kid do with it? How does music get into it? What's the kid doing with your product?
So TIMIO comes with preloaded music. It's really curated content. So it's content that I own. It's proprietary. So it's really the music that I've been producing, which is now streaming on Spotify, which will be included in the toy. On top of music, you have nursery rhymes, we have fairy tales, you have content, vocabulary content, just about a whole range of different themed discs, which play in multiple languages. So right now we have 5 languages, and we've been requested for, since we launched TIMIO on Kickstarter, for a lot more languages. So we have to manage now how we can deliver as much as possible in a short time frame.
Sure, that's great. So where does this idea kind of start from? I mean, obviously you said you were in music and stuff, and I have a music background too. So I used to own recording studios. So I know, so you got music kind of going around you, but where does the idea start to happen to start putting it into like a child's toy? Why that?
So listen, I mean, you and I, we've got a couple of gray hairs. We remember cassette tapes and
Yes.
maybe even LPs and
Yep.
CDs, and they're just all disappeared. And I have a bit of nostalgia. I remember when I was a kid, I had an LP player which actually eats the LP. It goes.
Oh yeah, you slid it in.
I slid it in, and it was kind of cool. You were in control. And the TIMIO idea actually comes with discs. The discs are magnetic and they are RFID, so they're recognized by the player themselves. And it really reminds me of a bit of my youth when I grew up with those different playing devices. So it's a bit of that, So I thought, okay, so why not create a player that, in combination with the latest technology, we're using the magnetic disc, we're using LED lights, we're using RFID, we're using digital music. So all of that combined into one toy, which, by the way, is not that complicated. It's not a high-tech toy. It's high-tech in the inside, but on the outside is extremely simple.
Right.
So if you want me to go back a little bit how the idea came, I said, okay, so why not having a player, and a disc, and combine them to play that music. So I went out and contacted an ex-colleague of mine from Philips. I used to work at Philips Electronics. You know, they make the Norelco shaver, the Sonicare toothbrush, really beautiful devices. So, and I said to him, you know, can you help me come up with a nice design? And the guy has got really a nice portfolio of products that are in the mass consumer, has been mass produced. And so together we came up with a beautiful design, extremely simple and pure, and it has no buttons. Actually, the player has absolutely not a single button. If you turn it around from all sides, I can show it to you right now, it has no buttons.
Wow.
There it is. So this is the object on its own, you know, without any buttons.
Yeah.
But it works. So this
great.
is the one without the PCB. So the one with the electronics inside is back at the factory for an upgrade. So this is the version which is empty.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. That's great. So what starts the process after the idea starts to kind of connect, you know, and you're talking to your friend that works, you know, that knows a little about this world. What do you start to do? How do you start to get the prototyping, the ideas? I mean, it just seems like it's that's a big mountain to climb, right? So what starts the process?
Listen, I'm like the most Mr. Anybody as there is out there. I have never made anything physical. You know, all my life has been behind the screen, you know, doing marketing, doing emails. Yeah. I've never come up with anything physical. So I have no clue. I had absolutely no clue. So I started contacting my network, Googling. It's like, how do you do that? You know, so I just found somebody on my LinkedIn who did electronics, and contacted him, and we, you know, sat together and came up with some ideas, and you know, there was just slowly built up, you know, to figure out that first I need, you know, somebody to make the design. So this was the designer, Peter Gall, and then I needed electronic prototype. So I went to Fritz, which is a neighbor here in Amsterdam, and then from there I thought, you know, we needed to go further. So I contacted actually a very big company, Van Berlo, which does, I don't know if you know, the Maxi Cozy child seats.
Oh,
parts, you know? So this company really is kick-ass. So they were expensive. So dig deep in my pocket, but they came up with really figuring out how to make it manufacturable. You know, right. So we had a pretty design, we had something that looked good, you know, that people liked in terms of shape. But then we needed something that could become manufacturable, could work as a mass-produced product. So they fixed it up, and we figured out how to do that.
Wow!
And then from there, actually, I needed to also come up with a branding. So I was lucky because the wife of the designer of TIMIO worked at Design Bridge, which is a huge marketing company. They have several offices around the world. And they usually take one project every year pro bono to, you know, train their staff to do something else. And they picked my idea.
That's awesome.
And they did all the branding. So they really did the logo, you know, the style guide and everything. So we really came up with something that was very strong in terms of personality around the toy. And that was really luck again. So, you know, a little bit of, you know, using my network, a little bit of luck, and I could figure out, you know, how to put a package that's actually quite marketable.
Right. That's awesome. What, during that whole phase, what was the biggest roadblock that you had to overcome?
Yeah. So the roadblock is how to go from a prototype to something, you know, that you can mass manufacture. So you can go directly from your little, you know, cardboard prototype to China. That can present some challenges. Obviously, the distance is a challenge. You may not have enough funds to go back and forth.
Right.
Communication is huge challenge. You know, you're on the other side of the globe, different accents. And so I decided actually to get it done, the prototype, get it done here in the Netherlands by the Van Berlo company, which does the really beautiful design and fine-tuning, and another company that does the electronics. So we came up with actually a working prototype. So that, you know, again, I decided to dig deep in my pockets and get that functioning prototype, which is quite complex for a guy who's never done anything
Right,
like this.
right.
Before I went to China, I could have gone to China. I could have saved a lot of money, but it would have been more challenging in terms of communications. I think. Some other products that are simpler may be less challenging, but this one required plastic molding and PCB design, electronics, data, so programming, software. So it was quite complex. So I decided, okay, let's do it here properly in the Netherlands before we go to China.
Was there any concern at all in this part of the where you were in that journey about intellectual property at all with China? I mean, that's come up with a lot with why I tell a lot of people stay home as long as possible until you've got all your ducks in a row, because they know what they're doing over there very quickly.
Absolutely. No,
so was that a conversation?
Yeah. So first of all, I'm right now dealing with an OEM. A contract manufacturer for the largest toy company in the world. So they're making my toy, but they're making toys for the biggest name out there. I cannot say it. Yeah. There's a huge element of trust. I went and met them. Obviously, as soon as you go on Kickstarter, you're just telling the world, copy me. They see that you've been funded. They know how much sales you're getting. So, you're asking for it. So even with intellectual property protection, you're going to have some challenges. However, I did dig in my pocket again and make sure that I have a patent pending and a PCT, which covers me for the next 18 months until I decide which markets I want to patent it in. And right now it's patented in the US, so for sure US is protected. So in the next 18 months, I can decide, depending on sales, depending on strategy, depending on finances, where I want to have a full patent. So that's, again, still up and coming. I did also do a trademark for the name. So again, it requires some financial backing. Luckily, I have a bit of savings, and so I could do that. But think about it; it really requires, if you're trying to protect yourself, think about patents. Put some money aside for patents.
Right.
It's costly.
Yep. And how about the moment, though, that you knew you actually had something, like, where this wasn't fool's gold, you knew you actually had a product? What was that moment where you were like, all right, we need to bring this to Kickstarter, we are now ready? Where was that?
Yeah, I started, showing it to my neighbors, as simple as that. And the kids were just, didn't even care what they just knew what to do. Mm-hmm. And they were just like, trying to play the music on the discs. So really, the kids themselves told me that this is it. I had something, because I was even surprised myself that this didn't exist. The concept is simple. You have a disc, a player, and you have a disc with images on it. So you combine the two. There's a magnet behind it, and then you can, play the music by just tapping an image, or play the sound by tapping an image. So the toy will say, find the chicken, and you click on the chicken. I have videos on my Kickstarter page with the working prototype. So this is the dummy. So you will see how it works on the Kickstarter page. So I was surprised it didn't exist. So I was like, okay, it could be fun. And when I put it together, and it was fun, I saw it on the kids' face. And you see the video, by the way, on the Kickstarter page. The kids in that video were just, like, we had so much footage because they just wouldn't stop playing with it. So there was, for me, the kids themselves really told me that I had something going on.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's always great when it's when you get that validation from your actual, like, who would you be using it? Not just in your mind, like, oh no, this other guy told me it was cool. No, when you're seeing like the actual customer who would want this thing using it.
Absolutely. And kids don't lie. I mean, you have kids.
Oh yeah.
So kids don't lie. If they hate something, they will tell you. They will get bored right away. Yeah. They will put it aside. But kids were just having fun with it. So
yeah, that's good. That's interesting. Now, was there any consideration So for me, I found that kid products in general are pretty challenging in crowdfunding just because of the time
Yes.
elements, right? So, if the parents are ordering this today and their kids,
Yeah,
whatever, the age range might change by the time you deliver this.
I know.
Was there any of that sort of conversation before you launched?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I could have started Kickstarter earlier and get the funding to do the prototyping from Kickstarter, but like you said, it would have taken. I'm 2 years. I'm doing this for 2 years now. So I definitely waited until the prototype was ready, until the factory was ready, before I did a Kickstarter campaign. So now everything's aligned. So far it's going well. Delivery time is now. So we end the campaign April 5, so 5th of April, so keep that in mind. So April, May, June, July, August. So we've got 4 months, which is very, very reasonable for a Kickstarter campaign. But we just have to, we're right now really putting all our efforts to get it delivered on time. So definitely it's a big factor for kids products.
That's cool. That's cool. What over the last, maybe, well, actually let's break down a little bit around like team members and stuff. Now it sounds like you obviously got lucky with having that relationship that you built for them to take you on pro bono. But what were you looking for in terms of team members and stuff? Was it just mostly you, or do you have other people helping on stuff? What does it look like right now for you?
Yeah, it's mostly me. I have another a colleague who's working with me now since over a year, doing all the marketing, all the social media. The rest is, professionals, just outsourced professionals. So I'm really dealing with a very small team. So I'm very lean
Yeah.
in that term. So that really keeps the costs down. So the idea was mine. So I didn't do that in collaboration with somebody else from the beginning. So right now, just dealing with professionals and, it's going well, actually.
Yeah.
There's also another possibility. You have an idea, but it costs. So definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah. Well, what when you're working even with like professional agencies and stuff or whatever they're experts in, what are you looking for when you're going to them? Because I think a lot of people might be in your position in terms of I do need some help in whatever marketing, design, manufacturing, shipping, whatever it might be. What are you kind of looking for though? Is it just, hey, I'm just going to hire them, they're perfect? Or is there a case studies you're looking for? What are you looking for behind the scenes before you make that decision?
Yeah, I look at their experience. It's just some of them are local, actually, in the Netherlands. Some of them are abroad. I looked a lot lately with working with people through my network.
Mm-hmm.
I just want the big element of trust, because you're going to get bombarded by people wanting to work with you. I just don't even reply. I don't bother. I just work with people that I know either directly or via somebody else. So their experience is, stamped on, by your network. You say, okay, you can trust this guy, you can trust this person. And that's my main reason to work with somebody, is really because of trust.
Yeah. And what's the startup culture like right now in the Netherlands? I mean, do you have access to a lot of resources or mentors or whatever you need, or is it still you got to kind of search for it?
Yeah, there are actually. I was surprised how many Kickstarter campaigns were from the Netherlands. There's a guy, 10 minutes from here, who raised $4 million on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
For an inflatable lounge. This.
Yep. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. So he did really well. So I went down and met with him. He gave me some tips very early on. Mm-hmm. And really, it was quite encouraging. He also liked the idea of the TIMIO product that I have on Kickstarter. So that was also encouraging. So it's good to have somebody to talk to who has experience. By the way, my neighbor actually just moved in from the UK. He did a Kickstarter campaign also a couple of years ago. So I was like, right, there's so many people to talk to. If you can find somebody who has experience, talk to them, because that really helps. Not only to get some feedback, but also to get a sense if this is for you or not. Because for a month, your life is going to change, or more, obviously, to create the product depending on the complexity. It's good to talk to people and see if this is for you or not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, was there something in you that made you want to go down the entrepreneur route of starting a like any sort of product or a kid's toy? What, is that in your family
Yeah.
DNA? Were you working another business? How did you get to the point where you still wanted to be an entrepreneur and do this?
Yeah, I studied in Berkeley in California before I moved to Europe. I'm European, I'm French, but I lived 12 years in California and worked in Silicon Valley. So, I mean, talking about the startups, this is the hub, this is where all the startups are. And, it was very inspirational, definitely. So I started a company with my housemate back in 1998, just around the time where Google registered their google.com domain name. And we had our own website where you could order t-shirts. So we really started early to make to do a website with an ordering system. We printed t-shirts in the evening. We had day jobs and evening jobs with our little startup. And we ended up selling the company 10 years later.
Wow.
A t-shirt printing company, a screen printing company. And from then on, I did different things on the side. I had my day job and something on the side. So it was always in me. And finally, 5 years ago, I quit my day job and just started on my own producing music and doing different startup sort of thing.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the music side. Now, is it all kid music? Is that mostly what you're working on?
Yes, it's purely kid music, so that definitely helps. And I speak several languages, so I decided to do music for the world. So, English, Spanish, Dutch, just about every language you can think of. And the idea of TIMIO comes also from that. Myself being multilingual. Actually, my wife is German. I am French. We live in the Netherlands, and among the three of us, between my wife and my son and myself, we speak English.
Right.
So it's like my son was born with 4 languages. So that's you find it again inside the toy as well.
Right. That's awesome. Well, let's flip over to the actual Kickstarter. So we're talking with about 9 days to go. So when people are hearing this, they'll probably be about a week, 6 days ago. So you had a goal of about, I'm looking at US dollars too. So I'm looking at about 22,000 or so as a goal, but you're currently at 71,000 with 671 backers. So the backers numbers to me is what's really impressive. That's a lot of people for a.
I am as impressed as yours. I'm really delighted. Yeah.
So, but behind the scenes, before you hit that launch button, was there any sort of data points you were looking at that you wanted to hit before you launched? Impressions on Facebook, emails. What were you trying to hit before you hit the launch button?
So my measuring stick was Facebook. So I did ads on Facebook. I asked people to register to receive our announcement for the Kickstarter campaign, and I reached 5,000. I had the list of 5,000 people within a couple of months. So I was like, wow, okay, people are interested in my campaign. So this had two reasons. One is to build a mailing list, and 2, to see if there would be demand for such toy. So for me, this was it. So I was like 5,000, okay, can't go wrong. So that, again, I put some budget aside for that because that's also not cheap, but it paid itself, definitely. So when we launched the campaign, I don't know, within 12 hours, we reached our funding. So that was like, okay, if you can, try to get some people to register on your website or Facebook as much as you can.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, and then what's been like, has there been any sort of weird data points behind the scenes of the campaign? I don't know, countries that have popped up or people ordering them in bulk or anything weird that's kind of stood out where you're like, I wasn't expecting that at all.
The requests for languages, I've had people asking me for Persian. I've had people asking me for Indian. So the list goes on and on and on. And I was like, there are, thousands of languages, not really literally thousands. I had somebody asking me for a dialect from the Chinese language. So that's going to be difficult to satisfy. Yeah. So even one big request was like, can we have it in American accent or British accent? So I had people asking for accents even. So it's like, how can you satisfy every single language in the world? So right now we've had actually the most requested language has been Mandarin Chinese. So we don't have that in the toy. And I think that would be really, really great if we could have it. So actually, as we speak, we're now really working hard to try to see if we can align all the content makers to really get that language going, because it requires a lot of work to get the content, done and recorded in the studio for the tour. So hopefully we can make it. Hopefully by the time this video is live, we can announce it that we will add the language as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. What has to happen when you're making the music? Is it hiring a full band? Is it you producing everything? Is it you doing the languages? Is it hiring people? What does that take?
Yeah, so obviously I don't speak Mandarin Chinese, so I would work with Asian singer or vocal artists. And the music, obviously, we have a lot of the music already because it's the same songs pretty much in every language. So you're going to have the wheels on the bus in French, the wheels on the bus in English, and it exists in Chinese as well. So we're going to try to reuse the same content because it's very expensive to produce content. So if we can reuse as much as possible, that would help to speed up the process, obviously, for production and lower the costs.
Yeah.
But I'm always working with, again, professional musicians and studios and artists.
Now, is most of the of this material open domain, or is it licensing fees on this stuff? Yeah, there isn't.
So some stuff is, but we don't use it. So we really make sure that we use the songs that are not attributed to a living writer.
Right.
So Wheels on the Bus is the billion versions of that song out there. So that's kind of the sort of songs you'll have: Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and so on and so forth. So we're gonna use only non-copyrighted content as well.
Right. Yeah.
And obviously we record our own music in our own studios with our own vocal artists. So it's new content. We don't use somebody.
Sure. Yeah. I was just wondering if there still is a licensing fee or anything like along those lines, but probably with like nursery rhyme-esque stuff.
Yeah,
there really isn't, is there?
There's not. No.
That's interesting. So what does, for you, what is the next? Well, okay, let's back this up actually. So 9 days to go in the campaign, money drops 14 days, something like that from Kickstarter. So, the money gets in your pocket. What starts the process? How do you start getting the TIMIOs out to people?
Well, the process has already started. So we have regular calls with the factory. So we're building the molds already. So we're finishing up the software, the PCB, the electronics. So the process has already started. Now we just want to make sure that we keep up to the timeline and make sure we deliver at the end of August as promised. So hopefully no hiccups until then. So it's really making sure to have a daily communication or weekly communication with the factory to make sure that everything is smooth. So that's really being on top of things.
Yeah. And how do you guys handle shipping since you're in the Netherlands and stuff? If how do you guys handle that portion of it?
Yeah. So right now we're going to do direct from China. So we found a partner there. Obviously for the US, we may find that it will be cheaper to have a local distribution, a fulfillment company to do that. So we're looking into that as well. So we should be able to save a couple of bucks to the backers by shipping directly from the US, because this is where 80% of the backers are anyways. So that definitely will help.
Yeah, interesting. So what does it look like for you then over the next year or so? I mean, is this something that obviously get this one done, or is there multiple products coming down the pipeline? What do you envision happening?
My mind is thinking about new products daily. So it's really staying focused. Hopefully, we can make some sustainable business out of TIMIO, because there is demand for such a product, I think. So I've seen a competitor doing something similar with a different concept, though, in Germany, and they're really generating $50 million a year just from Germany. Wow. So if it's possible, to make this as a sustainable business and focus on that, that would be ideal. So really, I would like this to grow into something where we can produce more content. We can improve the product over the years, maybe doing a network product where you can download content from the internet. So it remains to be seen, but right now it's just to get it out there, getting in hands of people and getting some feedback, and think about the future at the later date, if obviously this becomes a sustainable business model.
Well, for you with a product like this, is it something that you could see like a big boy coming in and buying it out, like a type of thing? Or is it more, I want to have multiple kid products, like I want to make kids designs with music and stuff, and or is it where you see like there's a little bit of an exit at some point of like, I don't know, what's the Hashbro or some big boy coming in and going?
We will see. I
Yeah.
really cannot say at this point, but obviously I've considered all options. When I start something, I really do it well. So really for me is to get really TIMIO to be a top-notch product with top-notch content, and what will come out of it, only the future will tell. I just go with the flow, So
Yeah, that's cool.
not
That's cool.
concerned about that. Yeah.
Well, where can people find out more information? How can they dive in and learn more
So
about the product stuff?
TIMIO is the name of the product, TIMIO. You can just type it in Kickstarter, you'll find it, or you can go to timio.co, not com, and you go on the webpage, and then that links back to the Kickstarter campaign. There's plenty of videos and plenty of content. We explain every disc, what's inside, what kind of content. We even have on the Kickstarter page, you can play some samples in different languages. You can hear what they sound like. So
yeah, it's a beautiful built page. I recommend everybody go check it out. It's done really, really well. It's a great campaign, and I think you got a real winner here. Something that I can definitely see growing and changing, and there's just a ton of possibilities. So really well done on the project, and I'm excited to kind of keep my eye on what you're working on, because it looks like you're doing some good stuff.
Great, really appreciate the feedback.
No, all right, thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.